Ha, there it
For
is.
quality assurance.
Quality assurance. Okay, hey Jim.
Hello, Mr. Rustad. How are you?
So for this being our first show of what we're calling 70 something, Jim and I go back to the 70s. Get it? We go back to the 70s. We met in advertising. We met at an agency called J. Walter Thompson, which was at that time the largest advertising agency in the world.
Yep.
Then we worked together on stuff, brands and such. Jim basically drew the short straw because I was in those days what they used to call a piece of work. And so Jim was the only guy that was nice enough and tolerant enough that our creative director, Mac Churchill, would pair us up. And it turned out to be a relatively fruitful partnership.
Yep.
I got out of the agency business in '85, even though I'd been in it for about 10 years. Jim went on to other prominent agencies and a thriving freelance career. But today, the topic of today's discussion, just because we need a topic, is the boating life, if you want to call it, or what floats your boat. Right. One of the fantasies of advertising guys, pretty much any creative guy, is to live on a boat. And Jim can can rhapsodize on that a little more. But so this is really what, like, Jim actually did that. Jim actually bought a boat and he lives on it, and he's going to tell us what the boating life is like. So take it away, Jim.
All right. Well, we used to joke when we were at Embarcadero 4, you could look down on the park and you'd see these guys under newspapers.
So tell them set the scene of where Embarcadero 4 is.
Okay. 1981, San Francisco, Justin Herman Plaza, Embarcadero Center overlooks the ferry building, the one that stopped at 506 in the quake of '89. So it was a very beautiful, beautiful place to work. There was a park out front that no one ever sits in anymore. I went up there and nobody's there, but it was
Pigeons are still there.
Yeah, well, it's just it was beautiful. People would get the newspaper, go out to have lunch, chat, talk, and it was just a good gathering place. But there was always some guy or two on a bench nearby trying to warm himself on the newspapers, and our dark joke was that, well, those are old copywriters. All right, that's just because there was no union, there was no nothing, and you were always a bad idea away from being on a bench. So we started there, and just a quick backstory. My folks didn't last very long, so I never came up with a plan. It was never what would the older Jim like? I'm thinking, Christ, I went through the 60s as a kid and did everything he could do. And when I was growing up, everybody in their 60s, smoked, drank, eat steak, had martinis, and died. And that's it. I mean, there was nothing. That's just kind of what you did. There was no cause of death. They didn't ask. Everybody knew.
What I remember, I grew up, my family memories really are more like the 50s, early 60s, where they had cocktail parties and women would dress in low-cut dresses and they would drink martinis, and there was lots of smoking. So after the party, there would be these ashtrays piled high with cigarettes.
Exactly.
And half empty drink glasses. And that was like and we lived in one of the Levittown suburbs outside of Los Angeles.
Oh, so that's where Los Angeles. Okay.
Yeah, the Chock-a-Block houses.
Yeah. Well, I know Levittown, New York. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that kind of template of cheap houses, few floor plans, spread around the country and very big in neighborhoods around Los Angeles. Anyway, but not to cut you off, but just that was kind of there was I certainly didn't have any vision for the future either. So you have no vision for the future.
No, and it was in the 50s, and it was, the nuclear threat. My neighbor had a bomb shelter, you know, underneath, stocked with Campbell's soup or whatever.
We did. The people would buy these corrugated pipes that were, I don't know, 8 feet in diameter, and
Right.
half bury them in the ground and then pile up bricks and then have a little kind of a storm door in front of it.
Yeah.
At bomb shelters, our house was maybe 2 miles from a Nike missile battery.
Same with us on Long Island. We had the Nike missile base
Missile
about
batteries
10
pointed
miles away.
skyward, and there would be regular air raids, the stop, drop, and cover.
Yeah, get under your desk. Everything's
Get
gonna
under
be
your desk. And I remember they went through the thing of that you had to leave the windows closed, you had to leave the windows open.
right.
There were the PSAs on television about what to do if the bomb dropped.
Right. It was, I mean, it did sort of set you up for life is not going to be too great. I mean, those parties you were talking about with the cigarettes and everybody walking around, the biggest threat that anybody worried about was when they held their cigarette down at their side and they may have hit your head as a kid, and go poof. And it was, oh, Jimmy, you okay? Meanwhile, you can't see across the room, but God forbid you should get burned by a cigarette. Anyway.
You must have had especially flammable hair.
Oh, yes. She was always short too, so you could see exactly where you got nailed. Anyway, just in terms, that sort of set up the philosophy of that. You jump forward to advertising. I started in the 70s. My girlfriend's father, I was going to paint houses, and my girlfriend's father said, why don't you try copywriting? And I said, I don't know what that is. And he goes, well, you just write a little bit of stuff and you can make some good money. And I said, ooh, can I keep my hair? Do I have to? He goes, yeah, you can keep your hair. You can look like anything you want to. So it was 98 a week gross at JCPenney, Manhattan. You took the 7-Eleven in to get to work at 9, and it was $70 for a monthly ticket. So I was at the point where, do you want to take the subway or eat lunch to get up from Penn Station? Because you could, for a quarter, either take the subway or you could have a slice of pizza and a Coke. Seriously, it was just, nuts. Anyway, did that for a bit, got drafted, the usual, went into the National Guard, signed up for that because I had all these life plans. I was going to marry the girl and everything was perfect. And summer 72, my dog got run over. She broke up with me and I got drafted. Went in December 11th. The draft ended January 15th. I mean, it was just so bend over, Jimmy, take it, whatever. It was just difficult. Got out and got back into advertising and haven't got out since because it's just too much fun. It's,
when did you get back into advertising?
I was a New York Life trainee manager for 4 months, and I got a phone call from somebody at JCPenney who said, I hear you're not having any fun. I said, yes. When can you start? I said, Monday. So I hung up the phone, turned around to Frank Vaccaro, who was training me. And I said, Friday will be my last day. And he goes, I thought it might be, because you're not cut out for, New York Life, 10-day report, 20-day report, 30-day report. So I started back then, took a pay cut, went back into advertising, and went from JCPenney to the Treasury stores, what they used to have. And then I went to Lafayette Radio Electronics, which was like a Radio Shack kind of thing, which was good because the advertising was above the parking lot. So you knew if the newspaper ad worked just by counting cars outside. And what appealed to me is I liked the fact that you made something happen.
So just for those of uninitiated, retail advertising is a great crucible for teaching you what phrases, what turn of language, what pitch works, because you have your market research is, did anybody come to the store the next day?
Yeah. Did they buy anything? I mean, there's the old thing was at Burnback. It's not creative unless it sells, which I still live.
Burnback, for those of you who don't know, that's Doyle, Dane and Bernbach, which is one of the Mad Men agencies that are, they parodied on the show, but truly affected the course of advertising from the stodgy country club business that it had been up
Yeah.
through the 50s to a much more hip and energetic industry.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun, but you still had to sell something. And the number of times I've been with folks that are, but that's not, you know, hey, that's just, why? Ew. Well, it's like you got to sell something. It's commerce. It's not art, which doesn't mean it have to be shit or crap. Um, anyway, so you can hold your head high if you sell something. I like
Okay,
selling.
so you're at Liberty Electronics
Yeah,
and
it was Lafayette
or
Electronics.
Lafayette, I'm sorry, Lafayette Electronics.
Right. And a guy stuck his head in my office, another copywriter said, I've got a job offer to work in Japan. I'm going to Chicago. Would you like to take it? So I took the interview, I got the job, and I went to Japan to work in my first agency. I had been in-house up until then. This is the late 70s, went to Japan for 2 years.
What agency was that in Japan?
K&L Advertising. I'm not sure if they're still there, but it was great because it was, you say hello to any other Caucasian on the street because it hadn't really happened yet. There weren't too many Kentucky Fried
Well,
Chickens
I mean,
there.
I recall seeing some stuff where because you were good looking, you're still pretty good looking now, but you were a peach way back then, and they would use you as the designated gaijin in their
Yes.
print ads.
Yes, no, I did that a lot, and I would, people thought I was Robert Redford, right? Because they'd come up and honestly say, "Oh, Robert Redford," and I said,
You know what, Jim? I think I'm going to cut this out, but we
I
really have to stay away from again, we're old guys and we're still in that mindset of,
I know.
so, I mean, so just don't do any.
I won't, nothing to apologize for.
Okay, so just
Okay, so I
go
would
back
be there.
and talk about Robert Redford again.
Yeah, okay. Well, it turns out everybody they hired, the two guys they hired, myself and this other guy, were both 6 feet tall and blonde.
Yeah, which meant you were like a foot taller than Robert Redford.
Yeah. So, and they sat us near the front. So we were their token American copywriters. We looked the part. And I still know, in touch with the guy, it was a hoot. The best thing, big fish, small pond. And coming from this country where they think something is old, it's 200 years old. Oh my God. You got 2,000 years old. So I really enjoyed the experience. Anyway, I put my resume on airmail stationery and mailed it up and down the West Coast where I wanted to come back. And it was the only airmail stationery resume that anybody ever got. So I got a job with Bozell and Jacobs agency in Palo Alto, next door to another PR firm that was just working for some stuff on Apple. It's a computer company called Apple. So this was in 1979. Anyway, long story short, then went up to J. Walter Thompson, where I met you in 81. The creative director, Max, said, I'm going to put you with, Steve, because nobody wants to work with him. And you seem affable and you can get along. So you used to do all the presenting, all right, because you had the strength and the voice and the whatever, and so you presented most of the time, but all the time I was learning how to present from you. So I think you were sick one day and I presented and it went well and whatever. So we take turns doing it, I think we won the Bumblebee Tuna account. It was a pitch.
What I remember from that time was they had a team of people who would pitch accounts. You and me and I think a gal named Judy Dyer from research.
Yeah.
And I remember Scott Campbell was an account executive.
Yeah.
And we would go out and we would pitch accounts and we'd get accounts and we never work on them. We just go out and get business because people liked us. And then when they would get, then they get baited and switched and work with some trainees.
Yeah. But we came up with that thing of, it was a study in Playboy magazine. It was in the information kit that when they opened up all the cans of tuna, Bumblebee looked best.
Right.
And I clung on to that. And I said, if cans were clear, your choice would be too. Okay. It was great. It was a generic canned product thing.
Yep. And I went to New York and we had some clear plastic cans made.
Yep, Albert Buden was the
Albert
photographer.
Buden. And so we shot some of those tuna ads, and they were great ads. And then our sponsor, Bumblebee, had a canning problem with their albacore tuna in Hawaii. And all of a sudden we were calling attention to the tuna, and they yanked the ads because they didn't want attention called to the tuna. So our great ads, which were moving tuna off the shelves, were suddenly yanked, and the agency had a black eye because we were calling attention to a problem that they were suddenly embarrassed about.
Yeah, no, that happens. I mean, whatever. But that's the nature of the business. To me, it's like riding a motorcycle in the rain. It's fun, it's exciting. You better pay attention, and keep thinking all the time. Let's see then. Okay, so
let's get to the boat part.
Okay, well, I did. All right. So 15 years at Thompson, then a couple of years at Footcomb Belding, another agency, and then I went freelance in '96. And it goes like you're either a doctor or you're homeless. Income level just goes all over the place, which to me is.
I mean, at the time I went freelance in '85, and I think you said we were on the 8th floor of Embarcadero 4.
Yep.
So at the time, I remember saying that I jumped from the 8th floor down to the bottom of the advertising food chain because I was basically picking up scraps, doing stuff. I really didn't want to freelance for agencies because that was the agency life, but much worse.
Yeah.
And the agency life was kind of worse anyway, which is why I left it. So I ended up doing a bunch of different kinds of things. But, again, you're exactly right. When you're in the freelance world, you're scrambling.
Oh, yeah. And it's that to me is like, it goes back to find it. It's like when we were hunting for food years ago. It's like find a deer, kill it, eat it. All right. Don't shoot two because there's no refrigeration left. Okay. So just take what you can and then assume there's going to be another deer next Tuesday. Anyway, so I just think it's not honest way to make.
I don't know about that. Assuming the thing that I remember at the time, by the way, because I actually, when I left the agencies, I took an office and set up a real business, which means that I went from a salaried job where I had income to no income and overhead.
Yeah, not good.
And so, well, I mean, I survived. I'm still working for myself, so I must have done something right.
But you're working out of your house now, right?
At the moment, but I rent a co-work space downtown just because I get really tired of my own company. But I worked up until 2003 or 4. I basically always had an office.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, but the thing I remember back to the, using the hunting analogy was you needed to both hunt and cook.
Yes.
And as anybody who has either hunted or cooked knows, you can't do both at the same time.
Right.
So it was a constant battle of going out and finding the weakest, sickest antelope, dragging behind the herd, right, and then doing the work, cooking, while you're still out trying to keep your eye on the herd. And so the idea of trying to multitask and all of that sort of thing. So I did pick up a few recurring accounts, which is why I'm still here.
Right.
But I think the thing that I learned was never say no. If somebody says, "Do you know how to paint a dirigible?"
Yes.
Yep. Or if you really want to be honest, you go, "I'll get back to you on that."
Yeah.
And then you go call somebody up, and it's like, or today you Google it, dirigiblepainting.com.
Yep.
So you're freelancing in 1996.
Yep. And again, it was like when you got a client, I liked it because it was honest. It was like, you like what I just did for you? Well, let's do it again. All right. There was I just felt good. It's like, you didn't do anything. Well, you don't get paid. If you do something, you can get paid. So that goes to that saving for retirement kind of thing. Because unless you've got your name on the door at the advertising agency, where you're sitting in some room skimming everything from the top, whatever, honestly, taking a profit from the media buy and all that stuff, you're pretty much doomed.
Well,
I mean,
again, for anybody, hopefully somebody else besides us is watching this. Yep, the agency model was basically an 85-15 model. The 85%, 15% of an advertising spend. 85% was what the agency was, a media, newspaper, radio, television, billboards, etc. back in the day,
Radio, TV, print. Yep.
would buy. And 15% was the amount that was generally allocated to the production costs.
Yeah, actually 1765 used to be the gold standard.
So the agency wouldn't really make money on production. They'd make cost plus, but they would make a killing on media.
Right.
So when you're talking about skimming the top, it's basically agencies existed on the profit they made from ads that ran hopefully for a long period of time.
Yes,
Now
nothing.
that's theoretically true now, but that when our British cousins came over and purchased the majority of American advertising agencies back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
And agencies also decided that they could incorporate and act like real businesses. And then that pretty much brought down the traditional agency structure. There's still remnants of it alive, but Jim and I had the experience of being in advertising at the last period when advertising was really an interesting, good, and exciting job.
Yeah, well, I still think it is, because an idea is still an idea. It's just what are you going to do with it when you get it?
Well, I think the creative thing hasn't changed. I'm just talking about working in an agency, an ad agency.
Yeah. Well, working anywhere right now is odd, but I don't miss management. I got my first migraines when they said you could be a manager, because it was like, and we expect you to compete with your group. All right, so you have to write just like the people that are under you, and
since you're approving what runs.
Right, and I was the best presenter, so I was presenting, and I'd go away on a plane and come back and say, yeah, they bought mine. Not popular position to be in. Anyway.
You weren't the first that did that.
No, it's god awful. It's just awful. Anyway, so we had a great freelance year in the year 2000. It was just like $1 million or something. It was nuts. It was crazy. And we had a house on the hill, 3 acres, and we had some friends.
I remember I went there and we shot skeet.
Yeah. And we had our neighbors had horses, so we just let them run on the property, so we could see the horses but didn't have to deal with them. So it was very kind of nice. And this was the early 2000s when the bank kept calling you up and say your house is worth 200,000 more, 300,000 more, da 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 da. Would you like to have that? Anyway, sure. Well, we didn't notice that the clients were going away, and we just kind of kept digging our hole deeper, until an infamous night with the yellow notepad and the pencil of like, I don't think we can keep doing this. Okay, so God bless my wife, Dana. It was like, let's figure something else out that is not going to turn into whatever happened to the Sandersons. Okay.
There's a 70s show for you.
Oh yeah. And so we had figured out, well, let's do a boat, because I don't want to we can't afford a no window apartment with a brick wall or something out front, and just no, we can't.
I lived in that apartment at one point, by the way.
Yeah, and I did growing up, in college and stuff. I'm not going backwards. So we figured out, let's have an adventure instead of a depression, which whatever. So we got this boat. We didn't know what we were looking for. And it turns out it's got everything that we need. So we bought a boat for like $85,000.
How many feet? How big
50,
is it?
50 feet. And it's got, what we needed was 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, because our daughter was living with us.
So it's about half again as large as the largest Winnebago.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about parking at any place, because it's in a slip that we pay rent on. And the slip's about $1,000 a month, which is the cheapest thing I can think of in the Bay Area, especially.
So what comes with a slip?
Water, electricity you pay for, peace of mind, It was like it got my shoulders out of my ears,
What do
you
you,
know,
do you
when you
have,
don't.
I mean, do you have like a water hookup?
Yeah, so it's water hookup, electric hookup. There's even a pumper that you can get from the end of the dock and come out and clean your own black water tank, you know, so you don't have to go anywhere to do that. It's very visceral, very visceral. You
How about neighbors?
Neighbors are good because it's you can only have 10% liveaboard in a marina. That's the WBC rules uh, in California. And so you got 250 boats here, and there's 25 of them that are liveaboard. And we're on the quiet dock. We know our people, and most of the people are I'd say all the people are grown-ups. You know, they've seen stuff, done stuff, and they're well over 50. So it's not like you got a frat house living next door or anything, you know. And it's a respect for the water. It's a respect for. It's like playing golf. There's unspoken rules of, you know, how many
So,
times do you say hi to
so
somebody.
how do you, does your boat sits in salt water?
Right.
Where is your marina for, just in
It,
terms of,
it's in Redwood City. It's called West Point Harbor.
okay, so for any of you who are watching this, hopefully somebody who's watching it,
Yeah.
that's in the San Francisco Bay in the southern end of the southern loop of the San Francisco Bay.
Yep. So it's about, yeah, 30 miles, 35 miles south of San Francisco. Protected harbor. It got Marina of the Year in the country in 2018.
Wow.
So all the stuff here is bolted. A lot of marinas aren't. You know, you take a chance walking down the dock to get to your boat. Here it's like solid stuff. It's really good. Uh, and just in terms of, oh, what I like is it's a 1987 Californian 48. Overall, it's 53 when you do the stuff that sticks out. But
So say that again. I'm not following you.
it's a 1987
Well,
Californian.
that's the type of boat that it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
48.
and is it a brand kind of boat?
Yeah, Californian is a
Oh,
brand.
okay, so that's the brand. It's 1987. It's what'd you say? It's 55 feet.
Well, it's a Californian 48, but then you've got the nose that sticks out more, and you've got a swim thing that sticks out in the back, you
Uh-huh.
know, swim deck. So overall length LOA, length overall is 54.
And what's the hull made out of? Do you have barnacle
Uh,
issues and stuff?
No, it's fiberglass, and then there's a guy that comes in a scuba thing and scrubs the bottom once every 60 days. And then every 5 years or so, you take it out, haul it out, you know, get the bottom stripped down, many coats of paint, and you put it back in the water.
What about your engines? How often do you run your engines to make sure they stay running?
Once a month, you should
Uh-huh.
just let them idle, just to keep everything going. They're two big Caterpillar engines, like 300 and something horse each, and you could actually drive by. I don't know if you ever drove a Bobcat, but you're working one engine against the other, and you can do a complete 360 without going anywhere.
You do a wheelie.
Yeah. I liken it to the, I'm still taking lessons. The last thing I drove was you know, when I was a kid, it was a Boston Whaler, you know. But this thing is like dancing with a very large partner who insists on leading. That's the, so complete respect. You are wired when you take this thing out. But it's an adventure. I mean, the first time I took it out to get gas with my instructor, fill it up with diesel. We're halfway to the gas station, and I'm going like, "Oh my God, I forgot my wallet." He goes, "That's all right, I got mine." And a minute later, I go, "Wait a second, I live on this boat. My wallet is down on my desk, right behind us." You know, so this notion of house and boat hadn't quite sunk in
So,
yet.
so one of the things that occurs to me, because um, I know there's people that live in RVs and that sort of thing, and you can, you know, we're pretty rigorous about cleaning up our house, and we like to have everything.
Oh yeah.
How do you guys, do you like have like a weekly front and back cleanathon? Do you have housekeeping?
Well, it's like a clean ship is a happy ship, you know, the old saying.
Yeah.
And my wife's got a full-time job, which means I'm here in this bubble, the pandemic
So,
thing.
so
Anyway,
you're the boat husband.
I'm the boat husband. Yes. So I pump out the black water. I hose down the boat. It's funny hosing down a boat because if you take it out, then you got to hose down the salt water. So it's covered in fresh water.
So where does the fresh water come from?
There's a hose right
Oh,
at the
okay,
front
all
of the slip. And I do the Dyson vacuum, which is great. It's a portable one, and it just goes long enough to do the whole boat before the battery dies. And my thought is you shouldn't have a house any bigger than the length of extension cord on a vacuum cleaner. You should plug it in once and do everything. That's fine, because it's about 700 square foot. There's actually 4 levels. We got a bedroom with a queen size bed, no tub. So you are sort of doing the phone booth shower, which is good for the elbows, everything. And don't drop the soap because that's a whole different, you gotta, whatever. But it's simple. It is just simple. You look at things. When we used to have the house on the hill, it was like, oh, that's neat. We can put that out in the stable or the bar or the man cave, whatever. And now you see something, oh, that's great. It won't fit, So it simplifies things that,
Yeah, your acquisitiveness is limited by your storage.
Exactly. And it's kind of good because would that sofa fit in the door? Yes or
Right.
no? It keeps you honest. Also, it's you got a tiny fridge, you get tinier stuff, so it's never of it's really what you need.
So do
And
you, so part of being a boat husband, do you go get provisions like a couple of times a week?
yeah, I may do Costco for now that we're empty nesters or empty boaters. Her bedroom is kind of turned into the storage
Right.
place, which we have to unstore whenever she visits. So I don't want to make her feel bad,
She being your daughter, who
Yes.
shall remain unnamed.
Yeah, no, our daughter's Kit, and she's down in San Luis Obispo, and she's turns out you couldn't ask for anything better. It's just everybody's been through moving and boats, and she was raised on the boat essentially,
Right.
And we think it's fun. I mean, there's a lot of people that could say, "Oh my God, I lived here. This is just depressing. Let me
Like,
go."
I think the boat fantasy that I recall guys talking about way back in the 70s, 80s really had to do with a Jimmy Buffett lifestyle, we'll just say.
Oh yeah,
and sailing out into the Caribbean, and it involved lots of drinking and bikinis and stuff. But the reality is that it's what you've done is turned it into a sustainable, affordable, and well, obviously portable lifestyle.
yeah. No, it's plus there's a difference between the motor boats and the sailboat people. Right. It really is like wine and beer or something. There's a difference in there because the sailboat people can go anywhere in the world for as long as they want, and a boat's limited by how much diesel can you hold. Except when you find out the backstory on these sailing things, there's a boat across the way, a catamaran, 60-foot catamaran that has come around the world a couple of times. And they ran into problems in the Mediterranean because it was all the super yachts were there, the mega rich.
And these yachts are what, hundreds of feet long?
Hundreds, 200.
They're like Navy ships.
Yeah, and you don't drive it yourself. You have a crew. And they'd go, and there was no room in the harbor because of all the rich folks that had these giant boats.
Right.
So they just gave a presentation to the club, and it was like, I don't think that's wonderful sailing like that. It's like, let's sail to the Costco parking lot or something. It's not good. So we just keep it simple, and we got a place up top where we have our coffee in the morning. Got some new cushions up there. And every morning we make believe on the weekends that we rented the place. It's like, wouldn't that be fun? Gosh, it's too bad we have to go back to Cleveland.
Do you ever just kind of unmoor it and sail up to some, up to?
Oh yeah, no, I drove it up to what you call it.
Drove it up, right?
drove it up. And I think that I don't know, piloted up to Richmond when we had to take the boat out. And it's about a 5 hour drive. It's a 1 hour car ride, but you're only going about 9 or 10 miles an hour. So we left at 5 in the morning, went under the Bay Bridge at dawn. It was really quite stunning. And you're going past all these giant tankers that are always parked. But it really gave me the thrill of, a man's man. It was just, it just felt cool,
That's
you know.
good.
Anyway, I highly recommend it because you can get boats, especially sailboats that are cheaper and more expensive or whatever. Um, the best thing to do though is if you're serious about doing it, find a boat in a marina and buy it. So buy it where you are. All right, where do you want to live? Because they will tend to be more sympathetic to you if you've already bought a boat that's there. Okay. And then they put you on probation for 90 days to make sure you're not making, meth or something out of the boat and you're a good person.
Say that again.
Well, they put you, it's like a probationary period.
Right, yeah, okay.
Stay, and then you get made live aboard.
What are they looking for you? I thought you said they were looking for certain behaviors that they wanted to avoid.
Yes, they don't want people with, like in this one, their thing was like, there's no blue plastic tarps. Okay, so if your roof leaks, fix it.
Okay.
Don't put that over there.
Now those are different from the blue canvas tarps that make boats look cool.
Oh, well, those are great. Those are perfect. That's just a choice of color versus lifestyle. Don't put a lot of plants on the dock. Make it look like you're a boater.
Oh, so don't make it look like an RV.
Yes, exactly. And a number of times, just seriously, just to segue to the RV thing, I have a motorcycle and I go around driving a lot, and sometimes you run into it, you pull off the road and you see a guy getting out of his RV and he's dying to talk to somebody. He's maybe my age. And the wife gets out with a little white dog, afterwards. And he's going, well, where are you going? I said, well, I just live around the corner and da, 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 da. Yeah, we sold our house and put like everything into the RV 6 months ago. I don't think we did the right thing because you got to find a place. Where are we sleeping tonight? Okay. And Walmart is not the place you want to sleep in the parking lot. I was thinking.
We drive Meals on Wheels every other week, and quite a number of our destinations over the years have been these mobile home parks.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that there's really classy ones with landscaping and trees, and then there's basically just kind of jumbled together parking lots.
Yep.
Now they have hookups. Motorhomes,
Yeah.
I think I actually don't look it up. I don't know what a length of motorhome is, but it doesn't sound quite as romantic as a ship in a slip or a boat in a slip in a harbor.
Yeah, no, because I had an RV and you go down the coast and it's very nice and you get some kind of beach parking space and all that stuff. But most of the places are right off the highway. And it's not really.
We have a Campground of America franchise in Petaluma, KOA, and they try to have amenities and a pool and a game. But my sense is that those are temporary facilities. You don't just go plug into a KRA and you're done.
Yeah. No, you have to pick your things carefully because I was talking to one of the managers of these places and he says people bring their home life with them. All right. They think they're going to all get along once they get in that parking space. And it doesn't happen. They're sitting at this little picnic table outside and getting into these heated arguments that everyone can hear. And it's not fun. And if you're touring, you do have to worry about where am I staying tonight? All right, with the RV. Trailers, again, it's like you go a step down. usually, because I
You mean
love
like
the,
fifth wheels
yeah, anything like that, you'd park and leave.
or
Um,
I think I cited like a Winnebago I mentioned. I looked them up, and one of my favorite movies is called The Accountant. Ben
yeah,
Affleck plays a assassin who basically keeps everything he owns and there's a certain kind of Winnebago, real max thing,
oh, yeah, yeah.
and which he puts in a storage locker, and then he has he rents a house, but that Winnebago is actually the subject. If you look up the movie and you look at the chats and stuff, it's a certain kind of Winnebago, but again, it's got to be someplace. It's got to be
Yeah.
hooked up,
No, it's like in Lethal Weapon, one of the early ones where he's got his
right? Trailer on the
trailer
beach.
on the beach,
Yeah,
you know,
second one.
whatever. And it was like, isn't that nice? Well, you try to pull that off, because my idea of, you get the Airstream, or you get some of these beautiful aluminum ones.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry. I kept using the word Winnebago. It's really what I'm thinking of is Airstreams,
yeah,
the
but
silver bullets ones.
they're gorgeous. And what you'd like to do is have it on top of a hill with a view. And isn't that wonderful? And I'm just here, and maybe I own a couple acres, and the thing is there. Well, then you got to figure out sewage, then you got to figure out water, then you got to figure out electricity. So you're off the grid, but you're still off the grid. And those they have to scout for those locations that they shoot the ads for. And it's not as so I stay away from the trailers and the RVs, because it's a little depressing to me. A boat is not depressing. The thing that kills me is when if you said I live in a trailer, you get a certain reaction. If I live in an RV, you get another reaction. You say I live in a boat, and people always do this sort of wistful head tilt, right? They go, "You live on a boat all the time? Does your wife like it?" You know, you know? And it's just this glaze comes over them, and it's wonderful because you're
Do you
doing
guys
exactly.
ever entertain?
Not lately, not with the pandemic, but
Right. I mean, but okay. So
we sit on the
pandemic
dock.
aside, how
Yeah.
is the boat for entertaining?
Oh, it's great. It's great. It's actually very nice, because back in '87, this was one of the premier Californian was the thing. So the inside is all uh, walnut wood. So all the woods, the cabinets and everything else, and you really feel like you're in a cozy cabin. I mean, everything in the bedroom, the staterooms, everything is wood, and there's minimum wood on the outside, so you don't have to sand your brains out like most of these people do with varnish. But when you get inside here, it's a 16,000-pound boat, and we don't have any hanging plants that let you know you're floating, and it's cozy and great. We got a 55-inch TV, we got a full-size couch, surround sound. Um, so you're not rubbing two sticks together under a bridge someplace in a cardboard box. It really is quite a nice way to live, but I love the head tilt. That's my favorite thing. It's
So,
like,
they just so people know, this isn't an ad for Jim Sanderson boatleasing.com. The
no, but if you need some copywriting, let me know.
yeah.
Or
Well,
content.
I just think of I mean, being an old guy, Jonathan Winters used to have again, for the uninitiated, a very popular comedian in the
Yeah,
60s, 50s, 60s, 70s,
yeah. Oh, he's
who
great.
I had the misfortune of actually flying with one time.
Ooh,
I'll get to that in a minute. But he one of his routines was he had Maud Frickert's Airline and Storm Door Company. So when you were talking about boat leasing and copywriting, I thought there's yeah, you wear a couple of hats.
yeah.
Brief Jonathan Winters story. I was flying, going back and forth from San Francisco to LA on business. We agency in San Francisco, a lot of production facilities were down in LA, so you basically
You always had to. Yeah.
you always had to go back and forth. Anyway, I got on a plane in Burbank, and Jonathan Winters is on the plane. And Jonathan Winters,
Hang on just a second.
Hello, it's Neil. Here.
Hey.
FYI, I won't keep you.
All right, thank you. That was the port captain, which I am one of,
Oh,
which is really kind of cool. We help people get in and out of there when they come into the harbor.
sure.
We show them their slip and all that. It's great. Anyway,
So,
Jonathan Winters.
any of you who have run into a comedian usually if they're very successful, they really don't want to be bothered. Sometimes they'll consent to an autograph if you want one, or these days a selfie. But if at a certain point in their career, what they're really looking for is a shill, and so they want somebody that they can bounce off of.
Yep.
And so Jonathan Winters looks at me and he decided that I looked like some famous, or at least well-known baseball player. News to me. So so he ends up asking me to sit next to him. Stewardess says, or a flight attendant, what they call them these days, said yes. And so I become the butt of his jokes for the entire duration of the flight from Burbank to SFO. And you really can't, it's not mutual. You can't, go back and forth. He doesn't want you to talk. He basically wants you to look like a buffoon, and so he can play off of you. So there's a certain kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, but so I'd actually met a number of celebrities over the years, and I learned fairly quickly. I'm not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, so it took me a while.
Well, it's the sharpest spoon in the drawer, I always think.
It took me a while to learn that they really don't want engagement. What they want is they want either adulation, or they want some kind of, like I said, a shill or
an audience. They want an audience.
An audience. Well, I mean, you could being an audience is fine if you happen to be somebody that they're using to entertain an audience, though. That can be painful.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so were he doing nasty jokes about you, or was
no. It was more just. No, he wasn't trying to humiliate me. It was more that he was just using me as a starting point for riffs on whatever.
Right.
And so it was, but it wasn't. I'm just sort of sitting there, and I really couldn't. Anything I said felt like an interruption.
Yeah.
Or like the W.C. Fields line, "Go away, kid, bother me," kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that we've probably been talking now for about,
well, whatever, an hour.
Maybe. So let's wrap this guy up.
Okay.
I would like to continue doing these. We'll think of some.
I would too, because it's funny. I've kind of stayed on the copywriting side of it, and I just write copy. And I know you've gone on and sort of kept your head afloat with all sorts of other stuff, which
that's because I'm not. You're a really good copywriter. I am profoundly adequate at many things.
Yeah. No, but it's like it's the 70-something thing is my patience and ability to enjoy things have run out. All right, especially during the pandemic. We were watching the 49ers game, and I was getting so anxious that I had to leave. All right, it was anxiety causing. It wasn't a sport excitement. It was just I was getting, oh God, it's like, and the games were just weirdly close. So the 70-something is how you take stuff in. I think maybe something we talk about later, because I go between Get Off My Lawn and Welcome to Walmart. Okay, there's two, I'm the old guy at the front.
I would like to think that if, as we evolve this, that this could be a forum for peers, people who are 70-somethings, to share their look at it. I don't think it necessarily needs to be grumpy old men.
No, but you notice in the planning for retirement, it's like they usually don't mention anything above 60. It's like
AARP starts at 50.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got, it's like I've got my sister's kids are old enough for AARP.
I know. It's a little spooky. And then what I hate is when you get the discount at the car wash for seniors, and you still got your mask on and your hat, and they can still tell you're old. Okay, I just maybe it's the turkey neck. I don't know what they can see with the mask, but it's like okay, yeah. But I don't want to be kvetching old guys because that's I don't like to watch kvetchers. I'd rather see people that find the nugget of something interesting.
Oh, I was talking to my friend Bill today about the show, and I was saying, we're old enough where we've been through a lot of epics, which
Yeah,
are celebrated now in retro television and retro history.
yeah.
That Marvel comic TV show WandaVision.
Hmm.
I remember all of the TV shows they were parroting when I saw them the first time on television.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got that sort of history. You've got we were alive during the 50s. I wasn't that old, but I remember seeing the Army McCarthy hearings on television. Joseph N. Welch
Yep.
chiding McCarthy, saying, "Have you, at the end of the day, have you no charity," or whatever he said.
Yeah.
That just
Yeah.
totally ended McCarthy's career.
Yeah.
I remember, of course, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh, that was
I
something.
was in the Army during the Vietnam War. I remember very clearly the day Kennedy was shot.
Yep.
I mean, so anyway, so at our age, and then you scroll forward to the 60s, flower power, the don't inhale 70s, or don't tell you people you inhaled 70s, to the crazy 80s, and then there's the Mad Men. You and I were in the agencies. You were actually in the agencies in New York during that Mad Men era, and then when we
Yeah.
worked together, we were just post Mad Men.
Yeah. No, it
Uh,
really went from manual typewriters to Selectrics, which were really cool, then to Apples. Um, and then, it,
Well, I mean,
then the,
I mean, things like I did most of my work as an art director in video and TV, and I started out, for example, watching guys edit on a moviola, cutting film
oh, yeah,
to
with the
a
wrap around
flatbed
their neck.
to a
They put,
flatbed cam
yeah.
to offline editing to digital editing, which I'm going to be doing for
Yeah.
this thing. So anyway, just to kind of put a bow on it, we want to do more of these. I will for again, any of you who may be watching, which would probably at this point just be our wives telling us whether or not they think this is an absolutely stupid waste of time. And I'll try to package it up as a show, and then we'll have a sign out. I'll encourage people, which I will do right now. Hey, if you
Yeah.
like this show, if you'd like to hear more of Jim and Steve talking about the 70-something life, please subscribe below. And we're gonna, which you'll be able to do when I put up a YouTube channel. And I'll put my, Jim, do you want your email on this thing? Because I'd like to invite people to, I guess they could in the comments. People could put comments below and anything they'd like us to talk about.
Yeah. And it's really, I prefer the likes, so if you don't like it, don't tell me.
Actually, I think there's a setting for that in YouTube.
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
basically, I think the setting is like hold unflattering comments.
Yeah, there's no need, it's like, I'm sorry. I can just be
A-
my own worst enemy.
Anyway, let's continue doing this, and
Yes.
I'm going to say adios. Thank you for your time, and I'll be checking back with you. Any final comments to the?
We always use happy trails, which I like a lot. And then the family one is goodbye, good fortune.
What is? You mean the Happy Trails Roy Rogers music?
Yeah, just happy trails. I just like it as a thought, um,
Oh, you mean as a wish? Happy trails to you.
happy trails, what I say, and
Okay.
I've even got I'll do this with the happy trails because I just want to be a cowboy.
That's more Indiana Jones.
Well, you can need the whole outfit.
Roy had a white hat, the kind that curved and.
Oh, I know. But Gene Autry was my friend. Quick Gene Autry story. How much do you really want something? I learned at 7 years old. I had a Gene Autry carrier, or a little rubber figure with bowed legs that went on a horse that I
Right,
lost.
right, yeah.
Okay, I'm sitting on the John doing serious stuff, and I dropped Gene into the toilet. All right, so Gene,
We're gonna omit this story.
okay, that's all right. Anyway, Gene's on his back, all right, looking up at me.
Floating in your serious business.
Yeah, right. And but underneath it, and it was like, this was my lesson of how much do you really want something?
Yeah,
So I got him, Gene. So it's like, okay, it's I always think Gene Autry is a test of,
I love you, Jim, and that's too much information.
all right then. Well, this is an experimental one. So
Yeah.
all right. Talk to you later.
All right, talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Let's see. Leave.